Welcome. I have the privilege and the honor to present to you Rabbi Doron Perez and Rabbi Sergio Bergman. I'll start with Rabbi Doron Perez. He's an educator and public leader, known for his work in religious Zionism. He's the chairman of Mizrachi movement and the president of the World Zionist organization. Born in Johannesburg, South Africa, he made Aliyah at the age of 18, studied 10 years in yeshivot, hold a degree, a rabbinical degree in Jewish education, history. He is the father of the tank commander, Dani Alpert. May zichrono bilibracha, may his memory be blessed. Rabbi Sergio Bergman was born in Argentina, Buenos Aires, graduate from the Faculty of Pharmacy and Biochemistry. He is the president of the World Reform Movement since 2020. His political career started as anti-corruption activist. Later, he was a representative in the City Hall of Buenos Aires, and later a congressman in the Argentina Congress. And it's not the end. And he was the first Jewish minister in the government of Argentina. I'll give a full disclosure. He's the uncle of my daughter-in-law, and he's a mishpuche now. Rabbis, you both are in Orthodox and a Reform movement rabbis with extreme different perspectives and practice concerning the Torah and Halacha and the observance of Jewish tradition. How do you propose to unify agreeable approach rooted in halacha, rooted in ahavat chinam? Who wants to start?
Okay, so forgive me, can you hear me at the back?
Can you hear?
I'm sorry, I'm going to be talking loudly, I'm just not going to use the microphone. I think that firstly it's an honor and privilege to be at the ISC. Having met Dani Alpert a number of months ago through my friend David Yari from Kol Israel, and feeling so close to all the amazing work that ISC does. So to Dan, to Avi, to Sean, and to all the people involved in ISC, it really is unbelievable. And it's my first conference, and it's an honor and privilege to be here. It's also an honor and privilege to share with Dan and to share with Rabbi Sergio. And I'm going to start and say like this. If Rabbi Bergman and I would start discussing so many issues of theology and Jewish law, I imagine we would have a tremendous argument and debate. But luckily, the World Zionist movement that I play a role in is the World Zionist movement. It's not the World Religious Jewish Theology movement. Hamas today and our enemies today do not care what type of Jew you are. They don't care what you believe, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. Our enemies today do not care of any definition. When my son fell in the fighting of October 7th, he fell along with Jews of all backgrounds. He fell along with Jews from all over the world. He fell even with 21 Bedouin Arabs. Bedouin Arabs who were killed. Why? Because they're Zionists. Because they support the Zionist endeavor. And for us as Jews, unfortunately today, whether you are part of a Reform synagogue anywhere in the world, or an ultra-Orthodox synagogue, anywhere you are, you're seen as part of the Jewish people. And I think if our enemies see us as part of the Jewish people, maybe the message for us is we need to see ourselves as part of the same family. And therefore, I don't know what the solution is, and I know that we know that Jewish unity is not uniformity. But sinat chinam and causeless hatred is at the core of Jewish challenge since time immemorial. If it was easy to solve, it would have been solved. It's very, very difficult. If we're unable to go beyond our comfort zones and find ways to call what Rav Soloveitchik called a covenant of fate, what joins us as the Jewish people, I believe, is first and foremost, I'm going to talk about this tonight very, very briefly. I want to say in one word, ideologically, what I think joins us together is that the Jewish people are family. I said at our son's grave, and I'm going to say it tonight, that we might be the smallest people in the world, but we're the biggest family. And the Jewish people are family halachically. To be a Jew means to be a child of Abraham and Sarah. To be born into a Jewish family, you're part of a mishpocha. And do brothers and sisters fight? Yes, they fight. And do they fight about all types of things? Yes, they do. But when a person, a non-Jew, converts to Judaism, the first thing you tell them, even before you ask them about belief, you say, Amech Ami, are you prepared to throw your lot in with the Jewish people? If you're not prepared to throw your lot in with the Jewish people and be part of the Jewish people, then we can't accept you, because you know what's going to happen to you? A Jew, according to Orthodox tradition, who's converted, who's their real mother and father? Not biologically, but their spiritual mother and father. Who's it? Abraham and Sarah. When you give a Jew an aliyah to the Torah, or a woman, who, what's your Hebrew name? It's a man is Ben Abraham, and a woman, but Sarah Imeinu. And therefore, to be part of the Jewish people before co-religionists, and before even being part of the people, is part of the Jewish family. And I think we know how to fight like family. Unfortunately, family feuds are often the worst because we threaten each other, but we have to discover what it means to care about family. And I believe today the essence of Jewish destiny has to be rediscovering part of the Jewish family. And Sergio is my brother. It might be that if I have to discuss a lot of issues of theological belief, which I've never had to him, and I don't even feel I want to talk to him about, because I don't need to go. That's not our issue in the world Zionist. He's head of the world reform movement in the Zionist community, and I'm head of the one of the heads of the Orthodox community. And the issues that we face in the World Zionist movement isn't who's a Jew, and isn't sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. It isn't issues of religion and state. Yeah, the Knesset's dealing with that. The World Zionist organization's got to deal with one thing. How do we protect the support of Jews around the world for Israel, and ensure that there's no daylight between Jewish destiny and the centrality of the state of Israel? And we're equally under threat, and therefore he's 100% my brother, and we have to rediscover this covenant of fate. And I'm going to let Sergio say a few words, because I've got more to say, but I think the core of it has to be what joins us as Jews is a covenant of fate. We're in this together, we're in the same boat together, and if the boat of Jewish destiny goes down, it doesn't matter which cubicle you're in, the ship goes down. And we spend so much time arguing over whose hands should be on the steering wheel, not realizing that if there's a hole in the ship, the whole enterprise comes down, and we need to rebuild that sense of we're in this together. And that's what I believe we have to rediscover.
You talk about unified and you're man of peace, but I want some juice for the crowd. So Sergio, you know the reform, and you were in the in the World Zionist organization. And as a matter of fact, the Orthodox didn't win, the reform win, and they are the one, the reform and the conservative are now leading the World Zionist organization. We have millions of Reform Jews in the United States. We are like Israelis, we just, we know Orthodox, because that's the way the government, we didn't see a lot of reforms in our life or temples. The Orthodox are controlling Israel, even the parties. But how do you see the difference really? And what do you think? You talk about unified, but what you see is really different in an halacha, and we don't want to take a longer time, but in halacha, in the way you approach the Torah, between you, what is the biggest difference between the Orthodox and the Reform, like the president of the world of Reform in the world?
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for having me. Of course, the more important thing that I need to acknowledge is, like Rabbi Doron said, that we are family. For me, it's clear that I am family because I am very close to the Alpert family. But I feel here in the IIC, this is my first conference, that you really build a family. And you feel that you are in a family. That's the reason that I believe that the question about how we move from sinat chinam, that was of the Talmudic reason that the Holy Temple, the Beit HaMikdash, and everything that was a tragedy for our people came for sinat chinam. That means we can't really blame the others, that they are really destroying ourselves. But the spiritual tradition teaches us that the real root starts for our values. When we really fulfill our Jewish values, we are strong. And the reason why really we offer ahavat chinam is because after October the 7th, and we are here honoring one of our giborim, because when I saw really Rabbi Doron, I remember the contribution for the state of Israel, the Jewish people of Daniel, Zichrono Livracha. That means what we need really to honor what's happened with our people that give the life for the state of Israel and for the Jewish people, and we have no more room to spend our time in our difference. Maybe later, another day. That will be very interesting to discuss. But now we have a priority. And in this priority, Dani, what you are asking, I really want to say publicly, I think that everyone also needs to take care about his own family. And now I will really relate to my own family, that is the Reform movement. When we are talking about Orthodox or Reform, this is not a unique way to be Orthodox or to be Reformed. Because also we have in the Orthodox camp some people that we are really fighting with them together, that they are extreme ultra-Orthodox, that they have some positions that I cannot blame the Orthodox Jews because we have some part of them that, for example, doesn't really want to support to be part of the IDF. And I know that Rabbi Doron, that is Orthodox, is with me, that we need really to serve the IDF in different positions, but we be all together with State for Israel. For me, really it's clear that the Reform movement have, especially here in America, because I represent the global movement. And we need to take care that not the voice of the Reform American Jews is our global voice. This is the American movement, and the American movement in the last years moved in the Reform spectrum to the right-left. And they confuse our spiritual religious movement with some domestic politics agenda, and they became almost like the Jewish Democratic Party. I respect Democratic Party, but we cannot use religion and denominations to run in domestic politics. You need to allow to every one of our members to make his political decisions, but we need to use politics to move forward the Jewish agenda. And this is part of our Jewish agenda, and this is what we need to do. For me, in the Reform movement, I acknowledge that we have a problem of branding and marketing here. We really believe in Torah, we really believe in Halakha, maybe not this way, but we are not the light, easy way. We are another way, and like Rabbi Doron said before, we believe in the unity into diversity. And the strength of Jewish people is that we need to welcome everyone that is connected to the Jewish values, and right now, to strengthen the common camp. What is the common ground that we need to support right now? And for me, it's clear, for me, not for all the Reform rabbis and movement. We are together with Israel anytime, anywhere, and forever. We cannot confuse the government of Israel, that if you can criticize, up to you. But the state of Israel, the vision of the state of Israel, this is the future of the Jewish people. And now here we are discussing not about theology and not about Torah and Halakha. That it's important to say, yes, we don't think the same thing and we are not doing the same thing. But the state of Israel is in our common agenda. And we need to invest our best effort. And this is the reason that we are working together, and we are proud to say that Rabbi Doron is the president and our leader in the World Zionist Organization, because the World Zionist Organization is the governance of the Jewish people.
הכבוד.
Thank you.
In saying this, really, we know the assimilation in the United States and all over in the diaspora. And I want to ask you, really, it's important. We are really worried, all of us, on the future of our generation. And I'd like to ask you, where do you see the Jewish world 20 years from now?
Where we see the Jewish world 20 years from now is the question. Firstly, I really appreciate what Rav Sergio said. The moment I met through as I said, David and then Dan, Rav Sergio, I felt a common goal. And just before I answer that question, it will be connected to it, is we've seen today that our enemies have made very clear. Jews today are not being persecuted because we are Jews in isolation, or not because of Judaism. Jewish suffering today is because of our support for Jewish statehood. The reason anti-Semitism has become anti-Zionism is because today the great enterprise of the Jewish people in the modern world is the state of Israel, and today that's what is under threat, Jewish statehood, anti-Zionism. And in this sense, our enemies have made absolutely clear on October 7th. It was spoken about earlier in a different session by Yaakov Chaguel was speaking earlier about it. We know that the campaign to delegitimize Israel and to support Hamas on October 7th started on October 8th. It didn't begin. The campuses and the tents all around did not begin only when Israel did self-defense, which of course we right to do. We had 255 hostages, including our son, and we had an enemy which did the most horrific things. Of course, we had to try and bring our hostages back and ensure that our enemy can't do it ever again. But it started the next day. And therefore, I want to say that our enemies have made very, very clear that the issue today is opposing the Jewish people for any support of statehood, the Jewish state, anywhere between the river and the sea. And this, I think we know, over 90% of Jews around the world support this. This needs to be the rally cry, right? Right now, we have to get our act together. And I believe, to answer your question, Dan, I believe in 20 years' time, the success of the Jewish people will depend on one factor, in my opinion. How much can we take common responsibility for each other? The extent that we will feel that even though we have major arguments amongst us, we have to find ways to work together is the answer. So Sergio mentioned the issue of the ultra-Orthodox. It's a major issue for a person who's lost their son and had his other son in the army for 6 years. My other son is an officer in the army as well, in the paratrooper corps now in another special unit. And how many people's children, their fathers, their grandparents have been in Miluim non-stop, and others believe that in their connection to Jewish, to Torah learning, not to serve in the army.
It's another question.
Is that another question? I've got a major issue with that, but so too with them. I have to treat our Haredi brothers as brothers, because if we're going to use this to create a wedge between us, then we're doing the same thing. We have to find a way that even though we have massive arguments, and I agree with Sergio, my issue is not with the Reform movement. My issue has to be within the Orthodox community. How can we be the best that we can be, and how can we make sure that we are as committed to Jewish destiny as possible? And I think Rav Sergio needs to focus on the Reform movement, and he has major battles there. Like, we have to make sure that as the liberal parts of it don't sacrifice absolute support for Israel for their liberal values, and the ultra-Orthodox have the neutrality character. So I think what we all have to do, the short answer is, I believe that we will look amazing in 20 years' time if every part of the Jewish people can see that the people they need to focus on is on themselves, and to be able to change themselves. And if everybody changes themselves, like in a marriage, if the husbands focus on the wife's growth and the wife on the husband's growth, which wives tend to be, but that's okay. I find often that when you go for therapy, you know, there's a comedian, Bill Burr, who always says, whenever you go for therapy, it's always the wife working on the husband. But that's okay. I think we both need to be able to say we go for therapy, that each one of us, so to speak, needs to heal from inside. And if we heal from inside, the family will be much better and much stronger.
My short answer is...
Yeah.
My short answer about this really important question is, first of all, we are rabbis and not prophets. That means I have no idea what's going on in 20 years, but it's a trend that is important to really stress right now. You, the Israelis, American Jews, will have in the next years a very important role, a critical role, because after October the 7th, finally you wake up and realize that we have no more room to say Israel was my homeland and now we are in another place. You are in Israel always. And you need really to support the common agenda in the more important place, because you know that global politics is running in this stage. That means that the challenge in the next 20 years, and IIC is a leading institution to make the integration for the next 20 years into the Jewish community in America, into the civil political life in America, and to take the lead, because in the future, the demography trend will be most of the Jewish people worldwide will be in Israel, and the more really critical community that can help us are Israelis in America.
Okay, next question, we have to move. Both of you are rabbis, but involved in politics too. You and the World Zionist organization, I saw the hatred, I saw the politics with Israeli parties there. I was surprised. And you, Sergio, I just said it, you started like an activist. You become after involved in the city, like was elected to be in the city of Buenos Aires, then the Congress, then a minister, first Jewish minister in the government of Argentina. And we have a problem like Israelis, we say, how can rabbis, and I'm talking, you mentioned the ultra-Orthodox, how can they tell the parties, the ultra-Orthodox party like Agudat Israel and the others, and they say, no, we want our people to study and not to serve. You just mentioned it. So how, my question, should rabbis be involved in politics? If so, where should be the boundaries?
Look, I think the issue, let's say, of the ultra-Orthodox is not about rabbis being in politics. Even if rabbis were not in politics, there might be an ultra-Orthodox party which believes that they shouldn't serve in the army. So I don't think it's so much as rabbis in politics as it is, which I think is a challenge in Israel, religious parties, that parties are along religious lines. I personally think that was necessary when Israel was founded, because there were so many minority groups. I personally believe today that we don't need so many parties in Israel. We should rather, because when you're so splintered, people then are just, everything's around very specific ideologies, and people, I think people need to be pushed to come together in a broader way. In America, you've got the other extreme, you've got two big parties, and by the way, we see even with two big parties how much division there is. So there's no magical solution to the desire for human power and politics. If you've got two parties, they can be so divided, and if you've got 25 parties, they can be so divided. But I do agree that today, I don't think it's serving the Jewish religion today to have parties along religious lines. I think the party to have religious people or even rabbis in politics is fine, in my opinion, but it shouldn't be division along religious lines. And I want to say one thing. For me, the biggest thing I believe in Israeli politics and in all politics is there is a Jewish way of doing politics. That the father of political science of the non-Jewish way is called Niccolo Machiavelli. And according to Machiavelli, politics is power, and you do anything to be in power. We've got a different model. It's called Davidian, not Machiavellian, and King David taught us that how you treat your political enemies is what makes you who you are, political enemies. There's no such thing as Jewish political enemies. There's Jewish political opponents, and King David's greatest teaching was that politics is about unity and not about power, because the whole book of Samuel is bringing together the 12 tribes and even his enemies of the tribes of Saul and Benjamin together. Jewish politics has to be about not domineering, overpowering and when you can, but finding a way to give all the parts of the Jewish people representation. By the way, the World Zionist Organization is that. The DNA of the World Zionist Organization is representative politics and not overpowering, even though it sometimes works like that. So to me, to bring the spirit of Judaism should be to say not power politics representing individual religious or otherwise groups, but bring the spirit of Judaism to find a way to bring all Jews together in different parties, but part of the same political system. That I think is that I believe is the spirit of Judaism.
Agree, amen. Agree with you 100%. But I think, first of all, I believe that, like you said, rabbis, we are first of all teachers. We are not priests. The Kohanim is something that we remember, but if we are not practicing. That means, like teachers, we are leaders. And every leader in any dimension is doing politics. The problem here is how you use politics and for what you are involved in politics. If politics is really the way to use power but not to abuse of power to change reality, that is something that we need to take very serious and we need to be involved. Because we want to change reality. And you cannot change reality only because you have intentions, or we are praying for that. We are praying to have the strength to jump in, to be in the middle of the transformation of reality, and that's why we are involved. But we are not involved for our side in politics. We are involved from our common agenda. And this is more the important thing to really be on the same state of mind. We have values and we have a commitment, the Jewish peoplehood. And we are doing politics in the house that we are discussing about how Jewish politics are aligned with Jewish values. Doesn't mean that we are okay, and you saw it, with not the politics, with the politicians. We have a crisis of values of the people that maybe are now involved in politics, and there are really corruption in politics when they are not aligned with values. This is the job that we have to bring back the politics to the sake of the state of Israel, aligned with the values of Megillat Ha'atzmaut, not a party. We are not partisans, we are politicians, workers for the good and the goodwill of all the Jewish people.
Thank you. We'll take one question. Do you have, if someone wants to have a question, this is the time. Please. David, please.
First of all, seeing you on a stage together already is the right start of what we need to fix. But now the question is that you sat and you shared how much you can work together. The question is, what is it that you want to do? WZO is a platform. It built the state of Israel, but today it is an empty shell. So the question is, what is your vision practically to actually do something? That's what we'd love to hear. Thank you.
Let's make it short because we have another segment, but let's try to make it like in 1 minute, each one of you.
1 minute. What the World Zionist Organization, in my opinion, has to do as an organization bringing together all the different Zionist movements and with tremendous political power with the Kakal, is has to work out how can we do something relevant to the future of all Jews, which is exactly as Sergio said. I'm not going to go into what I think the ideas are now. We're still going to develop them. I was chatting to Eric Finghart about some of these ideas, but I think it has to be, we first and foremost have to do exactly what Sergio said. We are not in the World Zionist organizations to promote ourselves or our own organizations. Of course, we want our organization to be promoted, that's what, but it's first and foremost about what can we use our personal capacities, our platforms as parties to do for the Jewish people. And we have to find big ideas. Zionism is under attack like never before. The word Zio today is a pejorative like Judah in the 1930s. Then we were attacked for being powerless, now we're attacked for being powerful. And we have to find a way to make Zionism relevant. And I believe the way it will happen, David, is when we can sit together and cross-party, come up with big ideas. And I've got some ideas which are not for now. But that has to be big ideas for the future of Zionism which we can confront together, and I think that is together relevant for the future of Jewish people in the Zionist endeavor.
David, my short answer, very concrete and pragmatic. The first step that we will support all the way Rabbi Doron Perez like the president of the World Zionist Organization.
Thank you both. And I have one wish that we'll find a lot of rabbis like Doron Perez and Sergio Bergman in the Jewish community.
Sorry, I just want to add that I brought a number of books with me. It's a book that I wrote 2.5 years ago. It's called The Jewish State. It's about anti-Semitism becoming anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism and Jewish unity. I have some copies left over. Don't worry, I'm not selling it to you. It's Shabbos. There are some copies if you would like to. I've brought a few extra you can take in English and Hebrew. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should all be able to work
B'ezrat
together
Hashem.
for the Jewish people.
Ilan cares, the stage is yours.